crafty viewers. For today's project, we're going to be making a swing gate fold card, similar to this one, with products from the World of Good suite from Stampin' Up. So sit back and watch how I put this card together. So here's a quick set of products that I'm using for today's card. I'm going to be using a piece of the Designer Series paper. And this is probably one of my favorite prints in the pack. I'm going to be using another piece from the Designer Series paper. I'm using some early espresso cardstock. And you need, well, you kind of need two sheets because one sheet's going to be cut lengthwise and one sheet's going to be cut widthwise for the card base. And I'm going to be using these two Memories and More 4x6 cards to decorate the front. So let's get started. The very first thing that I did was I cut my sheet in half at the 5.5 inch mark, and I scored it at 4 1/4. Then I cut this 1 inch strip off of it. And this is actually going to create the hinge for the gate that swings open. So for this piece, I'm actually going to score this at 3 inches. The original instructions for the card that I followed actually had it scored at 4 1/8. However, when I put this first card together, I didn't want it sticking off the edge here. So 3 inches is sufficient to be able to fold it all the way across. Oh, sorry, 3.5 inches. Glad I measured it. So here we go, 3.5 inches. And this is going to create a fold for the gate. Think of a gate on a fence and you got a hinge on one side. This is the hinge. Now, I am going to take this sheet of paper that's 4 1/4, and I just happen to have it be cut at 11 inches long, but we're going to trim that down because we're going to use 2 of the pieces of the Memories and More. And we're going to cut these to 4 inches by 3 inches. This is a 4x6 card. I'm also going to cut this one at 3 inches as well. So I'm going to hop and go and do that off camera, and I will be right back. Okay, now that I have these cut, I am going to also cut this piece of 4 1/4 cardstock. This is the early espresso. And I'm going to cut it at 3 1/4. That will give me a nice 1/8 of an inch border all around. I'll be right back. All right, now that I have that, I can adhere the pieces to the front of our gate. If you watched my World of Good Memories and More product suite unveiling, and I'll put the link up in the corner up here, you know that this card here was actually one of my favorite cards out of the whole set of 4x6 cards. I thought it was really versatile. You could put pretty much any sentiment you want on here or just leave it plain. And for our purposes today, because I don't know what I'm going to use the card for, I'm actually going to use and leave it blank. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is we'll fold this and get this ready to work on. I'm not going to put this on the back yet because our hinge needs to go on first. And I do need to cut this paper down, and this paper is going to be cut in 2 spots. It's going to be cut, so this, we took 1 inch off, so this is 3 1/4. So we're going to cut this at 3 1/8 by 5 3/8 to have a real narrow border around it. And then the second piece will be cut at 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Okay, I got those cut. I'm going to use this one for the outside, and I'm going to use this one for the inside. Now, before I adhere this down to the inside, I do want to make sure that I put my hinge on, and in order to do that, I do want it in the middle. So because the hinge is going to be covering it up, I'm actually going to take my scoreboard and figure out where middle is. So if this were a piece of 5 1/2 inch wide paper, 2 3/4 would be my middle. Because I cut 1/8 off, that's kind of a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm just going to slide it over a tiny little bit, and I'm going to mark then 2 3/4, because that really will be a 1/16 inch less. Now that's my center mark for the middle of the hinge, and I'm just going to go 1 2 3 4, 1/2 inch that way, 1 2 3 4, 1/2 inch this way, and that just gives me a couple little lines that I can use to line my piece up when I tape it on. So we have a nice big hinge here, and I'm just going to tape that up. I'm going to pay special attention to make sure that I get adhesive right up to this edge where the fold is, because that's where the most stress is going to be on that piece while it's while you open and close the card. And it needs to span the front of our paper. And then I can use those score marks that I made to be able to line it up to know exactly where to fold it and adhere it. And really, with this paper, you'll never ever see the fact that there's even any kind of score marks there. So now that I have this adhered, now we can adhere this to the card base. I think this piece of paper was one of the most versatile pieces in the entire set of the Memories and More Designer Series paper. I love the new cinnamon cider on this side, and this map was a nice neutral that you could use with either the Mossy Meadow papers or with the Misty Moonlight papers, and they went very well with that, as well as with just regular black and white. So I'm going to adhere this down, and keeping in mind I have a 1/16 of an inch border on each side, not 1/8 of an inch, to make sure that I line that up correctly. Now, whatever edge I have here, I'm going to replicate that when I adhere this piece down on the front. So that way it'll look seamless between the two sheets of paper, and you won't even notice that there's a seam there unless you're paying really close attention to the paper pattern. I am also going to line this up right to the edge on this side, so there won't be any border on this side. There we go. Now, this piece is cut to 4 by 2.5 inches, and it's going to go on the inside. Sorry, this is going to go on the outside, and it's going to be centered in between the top and the bottom, and it's also going to butt up right up to this edge. And that just gives you a little surprise and a little visual interest when you open the card. Now we can take this card and we're going to adhere it onto the front, and keeping in mind that there is going to be a little bit of a border over on this side, so I'm not going to put that all the way over to the edge so that I don't have adhesive showing. When I adhere this down, I want to have an equal amount of border on either side. So I'd like to, before I get to the sticky part, I kind of like to lay it out to figure out where I want it to go and what my borders are going to be. And that way, when I set it down, I know exactly where to place it. Now, it looks like I did not do such a good job with the adhesive. It is all the way over, so we'll just pull that off, and you'll be none the wiser. Now this piece is going to go on the inside. And if you watched my video, you know that this was my second favorite piece in there, as well as the 3x4 card that had the same saying on it. And that is work, play, travel, repeat. And I think that's a very good mantra for people to follow, to be able to get out and enjoy life. So when that closes, we have this very pretty card. Now I do realize that I think the inside might need a little bit more bling. So I am gonna go grab some more of this paper and we will decorate that up. Alrighty, so adhering to our 1/16 inch margin, I have cut this piece to be 3 1/8, because remember we cut an inch off of 4 1/4, so of this being 3 1/4. So this is 3 1/8 by 5 3/8. And this paper does have words on it, so you do want to make sure that your print is the right way and not upside down. And it's a little hard to see, so this looks like this is the right way. And there we go. I think that's a perfect complement to this side. So the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to add a piece of white cardstock on the inside in order to write your sentiment and your greeting. And this is also cut to be 3 inches by 4 inches. And that allows you to have enough space to put your greeting while still allowing this beautiful paper to shine in the background. Now, the way that I aligned this was I actually put this card down first, and it's going to align with the edges here. And that allowed me to have it line up and make sure that wherever I put it was centered to the gate flap. And that way, when you close it, you won't see the card, but you do see all this beautiful background paper. And there you go. We have our awesome gatefold, swinging gatefold card. If you enjoyed this video, I would sure appreciate it if you could give us a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos, please click on the subscribe button and click the bell to be notified every time that we publish new videos. All the materials for this card today can be found, the materials list can be found on my website, and the link will be down in the show notes below, as well as a supply list for all the products that I used to make today's card. Hope you have a fabulous day and stay crafty. Bye-bye.